Hey yogis, I'm Amy and welcome to your practice. Today we're moving through a nice juicy slow flow yin style practice designed to release and unravel through all the stickiness in the hips. Now, I know for a lot of us this is a particularly sticky and tight area of the body. So as we move through the practice, I'll offer different modifications, different variations to allow yourself to choose and to settle into what's going to feel best in your body. So I recommend grabbing a few bits and pieces. A couple of cushions or something similar, pillows is always really nice to be able to support the body. And I also love to grab a blanket too, but you might have a blanket like this at home, like a throw to go on your couch. Or even a towel will do the trick as well, something that you can fold up and maybe sit on or anything like that that's nice and cushiony and supportive. And of course, if you have blocks, grab them as well, just in case. And we'll begin the practice today down on our back. So as you're ready, coming on down and getting yourself nice and comfortable in Baddha Konasana. So we'll bring the soles of the feet together and draw the knees out nice and wide. And straight away, you might find that you'd like to use your cushions or your blocks underneath the thighs just to offer a little bit of support there, a little bit of cushioning so that we're opening into the outsides and insides of the hips a little more gently and softly. And here you might rest the hands on the belly, feel a sense of connectedness there as you soften the shoulders back and down, or any other placement of the hands that feels perfect for you. And as we drop in here together, let's take a nice big breath in, fill the belly all the way up. And a clearing exhale, sigh it out. One more just like that, big breath in, belly first, and then allow the chest and rib cage to expand. And then a sigh out. And just allow yourself to rebound back into your own organic rhythm of breath. And start to use the mind's eye to follow the breath as it moves in and out of the body. And a breath, a slow, steady breath is kind of the center point for our practice. Particularly in a yin or slow flow practice where we want to use the breath to guide us a little deeper and to offer this sense of self-soothing and relaxation and ease. So as you start to tap into your breath now, take a big breath in and notice how it feels to breathe deeply. There's a lightness, a spaciousness, a buoyancy. And as you breathe out slowly, gently, allow yourself to soften in, to feel a sense of calm and ease. Take a few more breaths just like that. Allow yourself to breathe, to feel. Slow exhale. Nice and gently guiding the hands to the outsides of the thighs, draw the knees into center. You might pop your cushions off to one side, you won't need them just yet. Keep the left foot grounded down, kick the right heel to the ceiling for just a moment so you can place it gently on top of your left thigh. Flex the toes of the right foot firmly so the ankle is nice and tight, and gently you place the right hand to the right thigh, pressing it forward, feeling the hips square off. And you might feel pretty immediately a nice juicy stretch into the hips, but if you have a little more space, you might guide the hands through, finding a grip on the back of the left thigh or the front of the shin. And I quite like to rock my weight gently to the left here. I notice there's a bit of a deeper stretch to be found there. So you might do the same, or perhaps take a gentle rock from side to side, massaging through the low back. And if the head is lifted up off the earth, perhaps you slide your cushion, your blanket, your block underneath to offer you some support. Slow, steady breaths here. And one more deep inhale. Clearing exhale. Nice and gently releasing your grip. Right foot sets down to the earth. Kick the left heel up towards the ceiling for an inhale breath. And exhale, left ankle to right thigh. Flexing the left toes firmly so the ankle is tight, the knee is safe. Press the left thigh away from you, feeling again the hips squaring off, and perhaps this is where you stay, or hands will thread through to find a grip on the back of the right thigh or the front of the shin. And again, the choice is yours for movement or stillness, whatever feels best in the body. You might just rock gently to the right, find that nice sweet spot for your stretch. Whatever you choose to do, slow and gentle breaths here. And one more in. Easy out. Nice and gently back through center, release any grip. Hug the knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze, and you might take a few circles here, or even start to draw the knees out wide. And then back into the center, drawing circles through the knees in that way. And if you're doing that, take it one way for a couple of breaths or a few rounds, and then switch it up and take it the other way, starting to find a little bit of space through the hip joint. And then as you're ready, you'll either roll yourself to one side to press up to a seat, or find the backs of the thighs and rock and roll gently up and down the length of the spine. Eventually, we'll meet in a 4-point kneeling position, our tabletop. Wrists stacking underneath our shoulders, knees underneath our hips, and just a couple of rounds here of cat-cow. Inhale, breath dips through the belly, shines the heart forward. And exhale, breath rounds through the spine, guiding chin towards the chest. Just a couple more here, nice and slow. Allow yourself to feel a little bit of space through the spine, the body. Shoulders spread apart as we find cat pose, rounding through the upper back. Let's take one more nice big breath in. And a big breath out. Nice and gently walk your hands just about half a handprint forward here. You might even separate the knees just a little bit wider. As you inhale, shift your weight forward. Let the hips lower down as you shine the chest forward and draw the shoulders back. And as you exhale, gently sink back to a child's pose, Balasana. Hips draw towards the heels, fingertips stretch out in front. Let's do that twice more. Inhale, breath, shift forward, nice and gently, moving slowly, mindfully. Inhale, lowers the hips, broadens through the chest. And exhale, hips sink down towards the heels, child's pose, rounding through the spine as you arrive. Last time, big breath in. And a big breath out. Gently sink your weight back to the heels. Get off the hands for just a moment, arriving in a kneeling seat. Just take a little twirl out through the wrists here, encasing the thumbs in all 4 fingers, and start to kind of roll around one way, then the other. We're not really on our hands very much during this practice, but it's nice to show the wrists a little bit of love nonetheless. Good, then as you're ready, make your way back to a tabletop position and into a very gentle downward facing dog. So tuck the toes, lift the knees and send the hips up and back, and really take as much of a bend in the knees as you like here. We're not here for long, just taking a little pedal out through the legs, finding some space. And then gently inhale, raise the right leg up and back to your 3-legged dog. Just a moment here to bend the right knee, stack and open the hip, and it might not be a lot of space here for you if you're quite sticky, but see if you can hug the heel in towards your hip and squeeze your right glute, your right butt cheek, to try and lift the knee just a little bit higher here. Come high onto the tippy toes, look forward and do your best to step the right foot outside of the right hand. Now it might not arrive there, it might come a little further back, but grabbing a hold of the back of your ankle with your right hand, step it further forward. Both hands are inside of our right foot, as we lower the back knee down. Now, as we find this lizard lunge, start to walk the back toes or the back knee back just a little bit to arrive in more space. Front knee is over our ankle. And I really recommend grabbing a hold of a block or a book or something here to place underneath the hands, allowing you to lift up a little higher. Take an inhale, shine the heart forward, squeeze gently your left glute, your left butt cheek. And exhale, straighten into your front leg any amount. Remember, it doesn't need to be much. We're moving nice and slow. Again, like that, inhale breath, right glute squeezes as we sink the hips and broaden the heart forward. And exhale, straighten into the front leg any amount. This time, let's rebend into the front knee, flexing our right toes firmly, yawning the hip open, and arriving here for a little bit of a hold. So you might choose to stay with your hands on your block. You might bring the palms down to the earth. You might even start to bring the forearms down to the earth if you know that that's something that feels accessible and nice and juicy in your body. And perhaps even forearms to a block if you're kind of in that space in between. But looking at the right foot, make sure the toes are still flexed firmly. And what I mean by that is that we're not bending into the ankle. The toes flex towards the knee so the ankle stays nice and tight, and this in turn keeps our knee nice and safe. And just a few slow breaths here, maybe a little rock from side to side. If you'd like to give the right hip a guiding hand, you might ground down through the left palm, turning the forearm in as you place the right hand to the right thigh, peeling back the top shoulder. And of course, if you have your twisted monkey here and you'd love to take it, the right hand can reach back to grab a hold of the foot. But it's a very optional step there. Feel free to find yourself in any one of these levels, any one of these spaces that feels good for you. One more, let's say three more. Three more nice big breaths. Good, taking one more breath in. Steady exhale. Nice and gently. If you're on your forearms or in any other variation than palms, take your time to release and gently climb yourself back up to your palms. Let's guide our right knee in, ground the right foot down, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, and look forward. Do your best to step the left foot outside of the left hand, making our way into Malasana Yogi Squat. So hips can sink down, hands can find heart center as the elbows draw to the inner thighs. And if you have your block, it can feel quite juicy to place the block underneath the sit bones here, giving yourself a little bit of support to lift up and grow up a little taller. So it'll be on this setting, the second highest setting, underneath the hips. And if you don't have a block and this feels particularly sticky for you, feel free to come up onto your toes here. Knees out wide and hands to heart center, or even hands to the earth, just pressing the elbows into the inner thighs, lengthening out the spine as much as you can. We're not here for long. Just one more full breath in. And a slow and steady breath out. Nice and gently allow yourself to fold forward here. So releasing any props that you might have underneath you. And if the feet are a little narrower, step them back to that wide position. And then lower the hips down just enough so you can ground your palms and step your right foot all the way to the back of the mat. Lower the right knee down. And again, you might tuck the back toes and kind of shuffle the back knee back a little more so we find ourselves in this longer stance, allowing the front knee, the left knee, to stack over the ankle. And if you have your block handy, it might feel quite nice to offer yourself some space as we move just a little with breath. Inhale, sink the hips, right glute, right butt cheek squeezes on, heart shines forward. And exhale, straighten into the front leg any amount. Just once more like that. Inhale, breath, sink the hips down, shine the heart forward, shoulders back. And exhale, straighten into the front leg. This time, inhale, we'll rebend into the front knee. Flexing the left toes, yawn the hip open. And you might use your block or you might place it to one side as we make our way into this open lizard lunge. So again, we can come to palms and just find a little rock of the hips from side to side. You might make your way down to forearms or bring the hands or forearms to a block. Notice that the hips might feel a little different side to side, so really take this time to feel into it. Just ensuring that our left toes stay flexed, the ankle is tight, protecting the knee. If you wanted to give your forearm, or your hip, I should say, a little helping hand, right hand or right forearm ground down, left hand finds the left thigh and gently peels the hip open, drawing back the top shoulder with that option of bending the back knee and reaching back for the foot into twisted monkey if that's something that you love in your practice, or perhaps something that feels juicy for you today. Remember, meet yourself where you're at, so any one of these variations is perfect. And just drop into a slow and steady breath. Good, one more, three more. Three more nice big breaths here. Let's give it a little bit of a hold. Good, one more in. And easy out. Nice and gently, if you're anywhere other than your palms, take your time to make your way back onto your hands. Guide the left knee in. This time we tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, and then do your best to step back to a downward facing dog. Left foot steps back to meet the right. And then just like we did on the other side, remember you can bend the right knee as much as you need. Three-legged dog, send the left leg nice and high. Bend the knee, open through the hip, not too long here. Just squeeze the left glute to lift the knee a little higher. Maybe you're straightening any amount into the right leg. One more breath in. And exhale both feet down, child's pose. Sink the hips towards the heels. Knees lower down to the earth, arms sweep back behind you, or perhaps they drape forward. Just a moment here to sway the hips from side to side. Allow yourself to find a little more space. One more big breath in, and a steady breath out. So the next shape that we'll make our way into can be a little strong. It's our frog pose. So I'll offer two different variations for it. The first option, our full frog pose, if you would like to give that a red hot crack, I'll get you to turn side on to your mat. So you're facing the side. And here, if you have sensitive knees, or even if you don't, it might feel quite nice just to bend or fold over, I should say, the sides of your mat to place your knee up on top of, to give it a little bit of cushioning. I've got a doubled mat already, so this is going to feel really nice and juicy to have a little bit of support here. So with our frog, we're bringing the knees out as wide as we comfortably can, that we can hold, acknowledging that this is quite a strong place for our hips to be in, making sure that our hips are in line with our knees, and then our knees are in line with our ankles. So our legs are making this nice, strong right angle position. And if you look at me side on, that's kind of the shape that we're going for. Knee in line with hip, knee in line with ankle. So from there, as you find the depth of your shape, you'll notice you might want to lean forward to take out a little bit of the weight, or you might want to kind of lean back into more of a child's pose to take out the weight. See if you can find that sweet spot in between. And you can either stay on your palms, you can bring cushions out in front, lower down onto forearms, or anything that might feel nice here to support you. And again, I can already feel my weight starting to shift forward. So I'm going to continuously press gently back so my hips stay in line with my knees. If for you that's just not something that's going to feel juicy for you today, I'd love for you to come into a wide knee child's pose. So knees as wide as what feels comfortable, big toes come to touch, hips sink down towards the heels, and arms reach forward, sinking the chest down to the earth, and you might find your forehead on a cushion or a blanket. You could even stack the palms underneath the forehead as well. So whichever variation you're in, take the time to find a few slow and steady and deep breaths here. Relaxing through the shoulders, through the face. Offering a little bit of lightness and support with your breath. Belly is nice and soft. And here, if you tap into that rhythm of your breath, you might be able to feel, again, this felt sensation, this self-soothing of lightness as we inhale, maybe a little length through the spine. And then perhaps the exhale allows you to soften a little deeper. Maybe chest comes down to the earth if that's accessible for you. We'll take about 5 more breaths here, so take your time. Knowing that we're here for a good time, not a long time. See if you can relax into it as much as possible. Beautiful. One more full breath in. Steady exhale breath. If you're in your child's pose, you might come to a kneeling seat or bring the knees to touch into a closed knee child's pose. If you're in frog, hands come underneath the shoulders. You can either shift all of your weight forward and come onto your belly. I quite like to guide my big toes to touch and then draw the knees back into center, eventually returning back to face the top of the mat and sinking down into this closed knee child's pose. A little rock of the hips from side to side might feel nice, just to soften through the hips, through the back body, through the shoulders. Go ahead and let's take 3 more breaths here. As you feel ready, we'll make our way into our next shape, coming forward into your tabletop position. And we'll find our sleeping swan or our half pigeon from here, starting on the right side first. So you can either enter via downward facing dog again, or if you're not feeling down dog today, or you don't want another one, you can simply bring the right knee forward behind the right wrist. However, I love to enter via down dog, so I'm going to make my way there, lifting up the right leg, and then drawing the right knee behind the right wrist. Now for this yin variation, you might guide the heel a little closer in towards the pelvis, and I really encourage the use of props here, particularly if the right hip is quite lifted off the ground. So if you have a block, that might be really nice under the hip. I quite love a blanket because it's a little softer, a little lower, or you can use a cushion as well. And as you look towards the back leg, make sure it's parallel with the edge of your mat. And perhaps you stay lifted or come down onto forearms, or even forearms to a block. Now, if for you this is a shape that really feels super inaccessible in your body, I'd like you to come into stag pose instead. So rather than this back leg being straight, you're going to bend the knee, drawing the thigh about parallel to the top of the mat. Front shin can come a little further forward too, so that's almost parallel with the top of the mat as well. Again, maybe there's a little something underneath the hips for a bit of support, and then from there you can fold forward. Just a slightly more gentle variation. So again, let's soften into this sense of release, particularly if the hips are feeling quite sticky. Allow for this breath to soothe. Lightness and maybe a little bit of length through the spine as you breathe in. And a sense of softness and relaxation as you breathe out. Just a few more slow and steady breaths here. Maybe you're starting to walk the back toes back a little more, sinking the chest down a little more. Noticing how the body is already starting to unravel. Maybe a little, maybe a lot. There's always things shifting, changing, opening, releasing. One more breath in. One more breath out. Nice and gently making your way back onto your palms. Tucking the back toes underneath, and we're simply going to shift to the other side straight away. So you'll remove any props or anything from underneath you, and you can either step back to tabletop and make your way in any way that you like, just sliding the left knee forward, or from half pigeon, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, send the right leg high, take a little bit of space, and then switch it over other side. Regardless of how you choose to get there, eventually left knee travels forward behind the left wrist. Shin is perhaps a little closer in towards the pelvis. Maybe we're grabbing our blanket, our block, our cushion, sliding it underneath the left hip so that our hips are nice and square. Back leg is either parallel to the back of the mat, or you're finding that stag shape bending into the knee. And then from wherever you are, allowing yourself to either stay upright, taking a few deep breaths there, or to fold forward any amount. Feeling free to get creative with props. Anything that's going to help you feel a little more supported in this shape. Head and neck relax and release. Maybe with each exhale breath, we're able to dive in a little deeper. And just 3 more slow breaths here. One more big breath in. Big breath out. Nice and gently walking the hands in. This time we'll simply shift our weight to one side, so removing any props or anything that's underneath you, popping them to one side. Shift your weight to one side and bring the legs out around in front of you. So feet will ground down firmly, hands will slide to the tops of the shins. Take an inhale, pulse the heart forward, and an exhale round through the spine, guiding chin to chest. Just one more time, inhale, breath, lift up. And exhale round through the spine. You might make sure your cushions are closest to you as we start to make our way down onto our back, nice and slow. Hugging the knees in towards your chest, take a little rock from side to side. And from here, we'll come into any amount of reclined Gomukhasana. So this gets nice and juicy into this outer space of the hip and glute. So left foot will ground down firmly. Right leg will cross over the left like you're sitting cross-legged on a chair. If you're particularly tight, you might even feel something here, and this might be where you stay. Perhaps if you'd like a little more, hands can reach forward and start by grabbing onto the tops of your shins. Draw the shins down towards you and ground the tailbone down as well. And again, this might be where you hop off, breathing a little deeper. If you have more space, I'd like you to reach around to grab a hold of the outsides of your feet from underneath the soles of the feet. So thumbs point up towards the big toe. Flex both feet firmly and start to draw the shins out and away from the sit bones. So the shins are kind of drawing up and overhead or coming towards the face. Toes flex, and there's this feeling of guiding the feet down towards your armpits. So we're drawing the shins away and then feet draw down, externally rotating through the hip, and again making sure that the Feet are nice and flexed to protect our knees. And not too long here. You might take a little rock from side to side. Anything that feels nice. Good. Just 2 more big, deep breaths. Keep the flex. Keep drawing the feet down. 1 more in. 1 more out. Nice and gently. You might keep this cross of the legs here. Just release the feet or the left foot down to the earth. If you have cushions, grab a hold and bring them next to your left hip. Let's pick up the hips, pop them over to the right-hand side of our mat. Bring the arms wide to a T and then allow the knees to fall over to the left. Perhaps resting on top of the cushions, or you might remove them if you'd like a deeper twist. Just take a few slow breaths here, softening the shoulders down, allowing the spine to rinse. Belly is nice and soft and heart is open. Good. 1 more big inhale breath. And a clearing exhale. Next inhale, guide yourself back through center. If you found the cushions useful for your twist, just gently place them now over to the other side. Before we make our way there, right foot grounds down, left leg crosses over the right like we're sitting in a chair. Draw the knees, or maybe that's where you stay first. You can pause here, or draw your knees up and in towards you. Hands will grab a hold at the tops of the shins, grounding the tailbone and drawing in a little deeper here. Either pause, or if you'd like to take the full variation, hands will reach around, grabbing a hold of the outsides, so the knife edge blades of the feet. Toes will flex, and then any amount start to draw the shins up and away from the sit bones, and then bend the elbows to guide the feet in towards you, keeping the low back pressed down. I can feel already this side is way tighter than my other side, so I'm going to join you with some slow, steady, and deep breaths here. Shoulders relax, space is soft. Good. 3 more nice big breaths, exactly as you are. Tailbone presses down. Good. 1 more big breath in. Big breath out. Gently release the grip of the feet. Keep the cross of the legs. Let the right foot ground down as you pick up the hips and slide the hips over towards the left-hand side of your mat. Bring the cushions right up close towards your right side hip. Bring the arms wide to a T. And as you're ready, let the knees fall over towards the right. Shoulders relax back and down. Navel in towards the spine. Gaze can fall wherever feels most comfortable for you. And let's just take 1 more breath in. 1 more breath out. Nice and gently draw yourself back into center. Unravel the legs, and as we start to soften down into Shavasana, feel free to use your props. I love to slide my cushions underneath the backs of my knees, but you might come into Supta Baddha Konasana again. Soles of the feet together, knees out wide. Maybe there's a blanket or another sort of support underneath the back of the head. And once you're all propped up and comfortable, take a tuck of the tailbone under, lengthen through the low back. A little tuck of the shoulder blades to broaden through the chest. Taking a full inhale breath. And a clearing exhale. And again, as you ground here into a little bit of stillness and space, fall back into the rhythm of your breath and really allow yourself to feel the sensations. In the body, you might feel grounded. The hips might feel a little tingly or a little more at ease, a little looser. And there's still that soothing breath, lightness as you breathe in, and softness as you breathe out. Yogis, enjoy your Shavasana. You can stay here for as little or as long as you like. Let the body relax, let the breath be soft, and enjoy the state of calm and space that you have created. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Namaste.